Yeah,
Awesome.
I really appreciate the team. The team has been doing a lot. Kudos to them. Kudos to everyone.
Okay. You should probably make sure that all your team members are also joining this call, right? Somehow you need to make sure. So how many you said? 4, 5? How many people you have in your team?
We have Ash, we have Elizabeth, we have Sagar, we have Bryce, we have Mo, myself. Pankaj Pankaj said he would join back, but for now Pankaj is not there. So we're about 6 of us.
Okay, got it. Understood. I mean, it's still a great team for 6 of you, right? My goal of this project is a team of 2 to 3 members and train them, and maximum of 3 teams. That's what my goal was for this year. And I'm happy the way that you have pulled together your team. Just make sure your team is also joining this call, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks a lot. Great. Let's look at, and Manzoor is here. Manzoor, I'll set the context for you. Just give me some time. I know that probably you're wondering what's happening here.
Take all the time you need. I know I jumped right in the middle, so no, don't worry about it. I'm just listening in. Don't worry about me.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So now let's look at the next team, right? Quick work, which was kind of headed by Ashwin and Mukit and all. How did that go? I think we only have Mukit from that team. So Mukit, how is it going with your team? Is the team composition still there? Not there? What's the outcome?
Okay, so right now our team is still actually it's reduced one person. Ashwin said he's gotten a job at a company and now he won't be able to join meetings as often. So now our team's just 4 people. Over the last 3 weeks, we decided to just take a break because nearly half of that 4-man team was unable to join almost all the meeting times we had set. And we didn't have many colliding times where we could both join meetings. So now we have to sit down and rediscuss that if people join and talk in the messaging group chat again.
Okay. I think it's that we are coming back now together again. We should probably get our team back into this whole thing and see what we can do for another 3 to 4 months before we close this session. Okay. So keep me posted on the progress for the about your team, Mukit, from next week, and to pull in your team members back into this call next week. Okay, because we are starting this call today, I wanted to take it a little bit light, not push you guys really hard after a break of 6 weeks, right? So just wanted to make sure that you're able to go back and pull your team back into the game pretty much.
Okay.
Now let's go to the next team, which is I think it was Intel Recruit, right, Mickey? So not Intel Recruit. What was it? Artificial Squad, right? Yeah. So how is that your team getting along after our break?
It's a progressing. Carlita couldn't join today. She already told me I think yesterday or before yesterday. Right? So she already told me that. But we started building the job board. Carlita was having trouble with pushing her code on GitHub, so I'm working with her right now to fix that. And then on the side, we're also looking at the pitch text and the pitch net side around it. If there's anything else we need to do. So it's
how many members, Mickey, now in your team?
It's just me and Carlita usually.
Right. And Mukit's team, Mukit, you are talking about 4, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe what I would suggest is Greg is able to pull together his team, right? What I would suggest is maybe Mukit and Mickey, you guys can come together, right? As one team. Then what we can do is let's focus on these 2 teams to make sure we build something. Even the concept, is good, right? A concept, or even if you are able to build together some code, also is fine, right? It totally depends. Then what we can have is we can have I'm thinking today we are in August. So I would like to have something like August. This month we will have session, right? So we will have like 4 sessions this month. And then next month we will have 4 sessions, August, September. And then in October, what we are going to do is October 15th time frame. What we would do is we will have some kind of a pitch and demo of both of your teams, and then we will choose the winners, and then we can probably try to close this session by October, right? So I'm looking at August, September, October, right? And by end of October, I would like to close this session. So what the expectation of the team by that time is, you can have it as a 3 separate teams, it's okay, or you can have come together as a 2 team. What I want from you guys, of course, I'm going to train you whatever the missing piece are there so that you can have the complete knowledge together when you complete this program. But what I expect from you guys is come together and start creating a pitch deck and are able to build something, and you're going to come and pitch like a real hackathon, Gregory, that I was telling you, right? So
Yep.
the difference between the hackathon and the Testoper projects that we are doing, just for you guys to understand, because Greg kind of reached out to me some time ago. So what happens is hackathon happens in 2 days, right? You all come together, you pay an entry fee, and you go there, you come together, you join some existing teams or you form your own teams. You come up with an idea and then you start doing coding 2 full days, day and night, and then you go and pitch. And then if you get selected, you get prizes and things like that, right? So that is what the hackathon is all about. I could have done this whole Testoper program as a Testoper project program as a hackathon for 2 days, and I would have closed it. But in that case, the audience who would come would be totally different, right? The guys who already know programming and already have been participating in hackathon, they know what to do in the hackathon, and people will normally come like that, right? A different audience. But the goal of this particular project is to really develop you guys to get to a level so you can attend hackathon. Greg, you understand what I'm saying? So that's my idea.
Yes.
Now, when I complete my side of the training to you all before end of end of October, and what do you by end of October, if I'm able to finish my part of the training, and if you are able to do your job of building something, right? Even if you don't have a code, even the screenshots to show the demos, right? And pitch your product and show the demos. By end of this session, you will be prepared so that you can attend hackathon. You will be prepared so you know what, as an owner of a company, you should do. You will be prepared as an innovator. What are all the different things that you need to do moving forward? So that's the thought process. Okay, so does that make sense? So this is what we are going to do. So I'm going to take a responsibility of myself, August, September, October, to create whatever is required to train you guys, the missing piece that I think that I should train you guys, and I will complete my task successfully, right? And what I want you all to do is to finish your task successfully, meaning that you bring the team back together and take the responsibility of presenting yourself in mid-October, right? I don't know how the COVID will be. Can we do in person? I don't know, but nevertheless, prepare yourself to present your pitch deck and present your demo by end of October, right? And then we'll have some kind of a competition, and we'll have some prizes, and I will sponsor those prizes to encourage you guys and make sure that you are able to go back with the certificates that you attended, and go back with some prizes that you are proud of for the reason that you all came together and learned this together. Does that make sense? So I'm going to be firm on my commitment. Will you, all the 3 leaders, will be firm on your commitment to deliver what is expected out of you?
Yep.
Sure, Carter. Sure.
Awesome. So it's that we have come together. Let's look at just a refresher of your mindset, right? So let me kind of open this together. Just a minute. So I'll tell you what exactly I'm going to help you guys to learn a little bit more, right, in the second half, and then give you some kind of a refresher about the first half, right, or whatever that we have learned. Let me see if I can share the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Is it big enough? So I don't have to put it in full screen. So, if you actually think about it, right? If you remember, I told you need foundation, 4 basic elements that you need to learn 4 basic things. And I'm going to help you guys to learn all those 4 basic things. This is what I told, right? And then we started with the first thing, which is the foundational elements. So in this foundational elements, I helped you guys to learn personal abilities and attributes. And then I helped you guys to learn making the market your primary focus. So from the point of view of personal abilities and attributes, we talked about different definitions because you're new into this field. So you learned about the different definitions. You learned about, what is the product lifecycle at a very high level. You learned about leadership. Then you learned about, after leadership, you learned about teaming, getting things done. And then you learned about decision making, what's next. Right? What are all the different things that you need to consider to make your decisions? And then you learned about the basics of finance, right? These things, what you've learned is really very, very valuable from the point of view of personal abilities and attributes, right? You got to develop certain skills, which is very, very foundational skills as a personal abilities and attributes to really do anything after. So that's what we learned. And then we marched into a little bit more in-depth foundational elements to help you guys understand what are all the different industries that are out there. How do you discover the customer needs? How do you forecast yourself? How do you plan yourself? A little bit outside of personal abilities and attributes, some of the additional things that you need to really learn. Without these basic foundational elements, you can never become someone. You can never start into a journey of an innovator or an entrepreneur, right? So that's why we kind of split this into personal abilities and attributes and then making the market your primary focus. So in making market your primary focus, we learned about what are all the different industries that are out there. And we learned about how do you analyze the competitions that are out there, right? And I learned about some tools around that. Then, once there are very key things that you need to understand is what are the different industries that are out there and whatever the competitions are trying to do, how can you understand different customer needs and market segment? Because these are all some of the things that are very important for you if you wanted to come up with an idea. And then once you have an idea, then you have to start thinking about, is the idea is really worth, right? What is the size of the market? Can I develop further on this idea to become successful? So we learned about forecasting to set milestone. We learned about strategy. What is strategy? Because without strategy, there is nothing. I mean, see, it's the tactical things are something like this. You can consider your boss is coming and telling you the job and you just do it blindly. Okay, he gave me this job. I got to start today in the evening. I got to finish this and done. As this is what everyone does, right? But if you wanted to really think of, wanted to stand out of the crowd, you need to have all these skills. And one of the key skills is strategic thinking as well, right? You need to make sure that whatever that you do, you have a reason behind what you wanted to do. So we talked about strategic planning and almost like if you come here, so what we did pretty much up to here is that we finished the foundational elements. This is what we did in the first half. I took a lot of time to help you guys to really understand this because this is the foundational thing. If you don't have this, like I mentioned, entering into the journey of an innovator and the entrepreneurship is difficult, right? So now it's that you have learned some of the basic things. Again, with a disclaimer, I'm not saying this is the everything, but these are all some of the basic things on the practical aspect, whatever that I would like to really share with you guys. So now we have went through this and we learned this. Now, as a second step, what we are trying to do is number 2. Second step, what we have been, and we kind of started this journey, right, to understand. Right, and I have a foundational element now, and the second thing is I wanted to understand how a company or any entrepreneur or innovator, when he has some idea, right, how he goes through the different phases to really become successful from the point of view of product lifecycle management, right? So that's what was our second important thing. What's the point in knowing all these leadership skill, teaming form skill, forming the team skill, finance skills, and all the industry segments and everything, right? Outcome of all those things is you have a different mindset to do something innovatively. Okay, you got there, but now you have that mindset, and then you need to go to the next step. So the next step is you need to build something. And if you want to build something, you need to understand what happens as a end-to-end. The people likewise people, when they build something, what are all the different phases that they go through, and how they actually build it, how they actually launch it, how they actually maintain it, how they actually run the company, and from the product point of view. And so we are all having jobs and doing jobs in our company. It is very important to understand. So that's the second section of the training, right? That we were going through, and we went through up to here, new product planning, and the remaining is introduction and post-launch management. I probably would need another 2 to 3 sessions maximum to cover these two things. Okay, so that will take us to towards end of August. Then what we will do is, I'll give a refresher of this. Then what we will do is the third section, what it will be called as, I know I'm going to kind of name it as, the missing piece to become an entrepreneur, right? That's how I'm going to name the third session as. So the first session gave you the foundational elements, and the second session is going to really help you to see how you build the product and see through this complete end-to-end life cycle from the product point of view. And the third one is, I wanted you to see this from the entrepreneurship angle point of view. So what is it? How is it different from the product point of view? It's pretty simple, right? How is it different is, an entrepreneur is not only thinking about building product, right? But he's also thinking about making money. He's also thinking about how can I make someone else interested to listen to me and invest with me, right? It's not just about product development, right? It's about more than that product development. And it's not just about foundation element, more than that. And that more piece is what? How do I make sure that I have the stakeholders who is going to continue to invest on me, and a customer who is going to continue to pay me so I can run the business? What are all the additional things that I need to do in addition to the foundational elements? What you need to know in addition to the foundational elements and the product life cycle is that missing piece, right? And again, I won't cover everything, but the most important points. And some of them I have already thrown at you guys, right? Like pitch deck and industries, competition, and all those things I've already thrown at. But what are the other additional missing piece that you should know as if you want to really become an entrepreneur? That's what I'm going to focus on the third session, right? That would probably take another 2 or 3 sessions, right? Because 70-80% of it you have already covered in the first 2 sessions, but the remaining piece I will explain that. That's the third one. And then the fourth one is the actual pitch day that we are talking about. You are going to come, and then I will give you a gap, and I will make sure that, I'll give you like 4 to 6 weeks time for you to prepare the pitch deck and come and present. And when you come and present towards the pitch day, you have to come with your whole team, 4 or 5 people, the 10-15 people. You have to come with your whole team, and you have to pitch it. And then if you have built some software, you're going to show the demo, and you're going to make sure that you really do whatever is required to be done on that pitch day, like a real hackathon, right, within our existing team. And then afterwards, I will invite a couple of judges to really, look at what you guys have done, and I will ask them to pick and choose the winner 1, 2, 3, right? Just for the formality reason, and then we will recognize you guys with some kind of awards and certificates and some, even if possible, if we have some budget with some gift certificates and things like that, we'll work out that towards the end. And then we will close this program. So these are the 4 key things that we are going to do. Does that make sense? Is it all clear?
Yes, Kada, it does.
Yeah, trust me, whatever that what you have learned now and what you're going to learn in next 6 to 8 sessions is going to really put you guys into a solid foundation. That much I can assure you. So now, just to give you the recap of what we have done in product and life cycle, and then we can close the sessions. I can probably give you guys a little bit more time back to you today so that you can go back and talk to all your teams and get back with the full house. And I would like to really see all your team members are joining this call moving forward, okay? For next 2 to 3 months until we close this project session. All right. So in product and its life cycle, there's three main sections, right? Whoever is building the product, they go through these three main sessions. First one is planning. The planning is always the biggest session. It takes lots of time, right? And then once you have the complete planning done, the product development doesn't take a lot of time. And then post-launch management and post-launch is going to take a lot of time, because why? Your product is there in the market and you need to continue to evolve your product and you need to keep it alive as long as you can make money out of that product. And then finally you have to discontinue that, right? So that's why it's a little bit longer, right? So that's what it is. So what we learned is the concept phase. This is the first phase that you go through whenever you wanted to build a product. This is tied to the foundational elements. Again, this is somehow tied to the entrepreneurship missing piece, the third session. Why? Because it's all connected. In this concept phase only, as an entrepreneur, you come up with an idea and then you will validate your idea. And then you make your decision of, this is the idea that I wanted to move forward. Right? So that's what is the concept phase is all about. And we went through that concept phase and we learned together. And then the second phase that we learned together was the feasibility phase. Now you have an idea and you decided this is the idea that you wanted to move forward. Now you wanted to get into the details about that idea to do a number of things. This is where some entrepreneurship also comes in, right? It's not only about building the product definitions. It's not only about defining the product architecture, design, and things like that, right? It is also an important, which is like product requirement document. But in addition to the product requirement document, there are a few other things that you need to do. Like an entrepreneur, right? You need to start thinking like an entrepreneur. This is where you differ, right? In addition to the product requirement document, you start thinking about the business case. How am I going to make money? Right, like I told you. And then how am I going to really market this so that I can attract the people? Right? And what are all the different things that I'm going to do to launch the product that I'm going to build towards, once the product is built, what are the different things that I'm going to do to launch? See, the mindset is a little bit different, right? The normal software developers and all, they'll just think about, okay, I have an idea. I have to start writing the product requirement document and then start implementing it and then start delivering it. That's how they think. But an entrepreneur, an innovator, he thinks not only about the product, but he also thinks about how am I going to market? What is the business case for this? Whatever the time that I'm going to spend? How am I going to really launch that? That's the difference from the normal product guy to an entrepreneur and innovator. So we talked about that. So in addition to just developing the product requirement document, we also have to look at all these other aspects of it. And we kind of talked about to make sure that in this phase, whatever the idea you have, you are convinced when you are coming out of this phase, there is really a business there for you to move forward to the next step. That's the most important point. So once you, and also in this phase is where the team forming and all comes into the picture that we looked at in the foundational element, right? You are able to form teams that can really help you to make this idea a real business. And you come out with, if you don't have a team, you start thinking about how are you going to build your team to run this as a business and start this as a company and move forward. You want to start thinking about that. That's very, very important, right? Feasibility phase. Then once you are convinced that, yes, I have an idea, concept phase, and the second one is, yes, there is really a business there with this idea. Then the third one is you go into the phase of product definition. That's the most critical thing, right? So here what you are going to do is you are going to define the product. Now, when you are going to define the product, you also streamline the business case and marketing plan, and even the launch plan. Right? You got to streamline everything. So it's not only about the product, it's about the business plan, marketing plan, and launch plan. In parallel, you got to think about these three additional things when you go through this product definition phase as well. And we looked at product definition phase. We learned, before we took a break, what is a product definition phase? Product definition is nothing but, all the foundational elements that I learned about competition, about industry, about the customer, all those things as an input that I'm going to take for the idea that I have and the idea that I'm convinced there is really business there. Based on all these inputs, and I'm going to start writing the minimum viable product requirement. So that's what it is. So you're going to really start thinking now how your product is going to shape. If it is a handbag you're building, how is it going to come out as an end product? Product requirement, right? That's what the product requirement is. Now, the product requirement after you write, you also write a product specification document. Now, product requirement document and specification document is a little bit different in the sense that product requirement means these are all the different things that I need to do when I'm manufacturing the handbag. So this handbag is going to come out as a handbag for, I don't know, let's say 10 to 12 years girls, and these are all the different features it's going to support and so on. But the product specification gets into the details. Right? How all these different features is going to really look like. Okay, it's going to have a picture of this. It's going to have so many stones in it. It's going to have, and the stone is going to be, ruby or whatever. The details of it, right? So that's what is the product specification document. That's the difference between the requirement document and specification document. Specification document has more details in it. Right? And the details of how you are going to kind of design it and implement it. And requirement document is mostly from the user point of view, how the user is going to perceive that product that you are building. So that's the product definition phase. You got to build the product requirement document, product specification document. And when you're trying to build that, there are some phases that you go through. First thing is you need to elicit the requirements, right? How can you elicit the requirements? Everything that we learned in the past. You got to interview the customers. You got to do the workshops. You got to work with your team members, multiple team members that you formed in your previous phase. You got to work with them and brainstorm with them, whiteboard with them. And not only that, you got to talk to customers, competitors, and you also got, there's so many organizations that are out there, which are industry analysts, they call it as, they just write reports, market studies. So talk to the industry analyst, understand about competition, understand about customers, and think about everything like a story, right? You got to really elicit all those requirements from different sources that you have, right? I kind of put it here, competition, industry, and customers, but I kind of explain a little bit more details in this particular slide. Once you have those requirements elicited, then the next step is you got to define them. So when you're defining them, you're going to define as a functional requirement and non-functional requirements. So the functional requirements is nothing but, what product actually should do, right? A non-functional requirement is like an option, which is not, it's like look and feel, right? Like for example, when you define a t-shirt, when you build a t-shirt as a product, what do? It's basically going to cover your body. That's what it is, right? But now in the t-shirt, you can put this picture, that picture, you can tear it here, tear it there, and make it a little bit short, make it lengthy, right? And the t-shirt, you can say it's only for dry cleaning, or you can say you can put it in the normal washing machine. It's, the sturdy of it, and many different things you can define. So those are all the non-functional requirements as an example. So you got to, when you're defining a requirement, you got to really define functional requirement and non-functional requirement in your PRD document. And you make sure whenever you define the requirement, there is always a requirement number, requirement description, why you are defining this requirement, what are all the different sources that came as an input really helped you to define these requirements. So those kind of things, you need to really document it. We kind of listed this and we went through this. Then once you define the requirements, you got to organize the requirement, because every requirement has to be really explained. And you got to make sure the storytelling is really here, because this is very, very critical phase, Greg, right? You might have, Greg, and all the leaders here, you might all heard some people created a requirement, but when the actual product came out, it was just totally something else. And you can actually practically do it, right? If you are in person, I could have done this exercise. You can keep like 10 people standing and first person tells a requirement. When it comes towards the end of the 10th person, it will be completely different. So documenting and communication becomes very, very important. Interpretation becomes very, very important. You should be able to tell this as a story. Whatever the story that you are trying to tell, the same should come out as a product. So you got to organize that requirement, and then you got to manage that requirement end to end. Make sure that every requirement is tracked. Like when you're building a requirement, and then in that requirement, the next one is specification is written, next design is written, low level design, high level design is done, low level design is done. I mean, all these things, there should be a link. So if someone is writing a code of 10 lines or 100 lines in a file, that code should have a linkage to the detailed low-level design document. I am implementing this low-level design requirement ID using the code. And then that low-level design should map to high-level design, map to product specification, map to product requirements. So there should be a complete matrix that you should establish to make sure nothing misses out. If you take it a little bit lightly, a lot of people, they take it lightly and they try to build something, and after 1 year, 2 years, they realize completely it's different what they wanted to build to what they ended up building. Now, what you ended up building, if there is a thought process in it and you change the design in the process and you change the idea in the process and then you built it, that's a different story. That's where the change request and modification request comes into the picture. So initially you had some idea with 10 requirements, and when you started building the first requirement, you realized the second requirement has to be changed, and then third requirement has to be completely replaced. All those things are okay, right? It's called as an agile design thinking development and things like that. But however, you need to track them using the change request and modification request. Otherwise, you will lose control. And towards the end, you'll have a product that's totally, completely different than what you wanted to make. Even though, you went through all those boarding session and everything. This is very, very important. And again, when you're at this stage, you should also make sure that when you're building a product, you can build everything from scratch, or you can buy from someone, and half you can build. And you need to also start thinking about, like I said, marketing plan, business plan, finalize it, and also the launch plan. And even it is good to even think about exit plan. You might decide, okay, I'm not going to sell this company. I'm going to run this company as long as I live, or the company lives, or as long as the customer wants to use this product, and then I will come out and then I'll do something else. Or you can say, I'll build this and I'll take this to 100 customers, 200 customers, and then I'll give it to some other capable hand to take that to 1,000 and 2,000 customers. I mean, all these plannings, everything, you got to make sure that you are able to do it during the product definition phase, right? And then business, we also talked about business plan. I mean, greater detail. End of the day, what is business plan? It's all about justifying the time, energy, money that you're putting in so that you can generate some outcome of that. That's what the business plan is all about. It should cover every area. And we already discussed a lot in our previous session about the business plan, and there is a basic sample template that I gave you and I reviewed with you. So that's something that we covered. And then we also talked about marketing and go-to-market plan, right? I mean, this is something that I just wanted to flash it today, right? So everything has an input and output. Remember always this, everything has an input, some processing in between, output. It's like a computer programming. Not necessarily only the computer programming has an input parameters and output parameters, and you do coding in between to convert input to an output. Everything that you do in your life has an input and output. You take marketing, there is an input and output to that. So what is an input for the marketing? Again, everything that we learned, right? Industry, competition, customer, technology, regulatory. You got to consider all these things when you're building the product, when you're creating a business case, even when you're building a marketing plan. And then with all these knowledge, then you come out and then start articulating whatever that you need to articulate, which is called as an outbound marketing. To create your brands, you create your traction from the customer to come to your website and buy. So number of things you can do to achieve that. Build your brand and make your customers to come and buy your product. There's a lot of marketing by itself is a big department, right? I mean, you can do number of things. I just kind of summarized it here. Between 3 or 4 points, right? So most important thing is you need to advertise yourself and you need to promote yourself. This is one of the skills that I always taught you guys, right? If you don't advertise yourself and you don't promote yourself, you cannot keep your team together. You cannot build your product together. So it's very, very important. It's not only about your product marketing, it's about marketing about you, marketing about what you wanted to do. So advertising and promotion is very, very important. You can send emails, events, you can organize events, whatever that is required to advertise yourself and promote yourself, you have to do as an outbound marketing. Now, what do you advertise? What do you promote? That comes from the research, which is called as an inbound marketing. There's always an inbound marketing team, always researches and gives something what we need to actually do as an outbound marketing. Then remember, there's always the researchers, industry analysts, universities. You got to really work with them and do things jointly with them to promote and so on. then anything and everything that you do, you need to bring in the innovation, creativity in it. You need to build a relationship with different marketing agencies that are out there who can help you to build a brand, or you can do the branding by yourself. And you can find a lot of channels to help you market. Let's say, for example, when you're manufacturing let's say a bag, right? Or a pen that has a lipstick, it could be anything, small things, right? And you can focus on young girls to sell that pen, right? Whatever that idea that you're bringing in, you got to sell, you got to market it. I mean, when you want to market it, you can't market everything by yourself. It's impossible, right? You need to find partners, channel partners. Today, if you don't believe, just the channel partner business is billions and billions of dollars. There are so many products that are built, and the products are, there's multiple phases that you go through to get the products to the hands of the customer. Take, for example, Amazon is a channel, one channel for you to market your product, right? There are so many distributors that are out there. There are so many resellers that are out there. So you go to a shop here, right? Some shop, right? Like even you go to Walmart as example, or any shop, a smaller shop where they have all these, accessories, for example. Or even you go to the small shop where, any small shop, right? What do you see there? You see tens and twenties and hundreds and thousands of products that are out there coming from different vendors. Go to a convenience store, what do you see there? Right? Products from hundreds and thousands of vendors are put there for display, and we can go and buy them. That's what is the channel marketing is all about, right? What are all the different means that you can actually go and promote your product and sell your product? Software, hardware, whatever. Tangible, non-tangible, whatever. So channel marketing is very, very important, right? And if you look at the big companies like Amazon and all, they have a big team who's responsible for doing this. Web marketing, which we all know, right? Doing through the LinkedIn, social media presence, digital marketing, all those things fall under that web marketing, right? And even some of it will fall under even the email marketing and things like that. So there is always an input, there is always an output, whether it is a business case, whether it is a marketing plan, whether you wanted to build a product, whether you wanted to write a code, there is always an input and output. And some of the terms that you need to remember when you talk about marketing is 4 P's and 4 C's. You will always hear it. It's nothing but everything that you know already that we have learned together. What 4 P's talks about: how do I build the product? How do I price the product? How do I promote the product? And how I basically sell the product, right? Place the product and sells the product, website, or go door-to-door selling, whatever, or through distributors, value-added resellers. And sometimes people refer 4 C's, right? Customers, think about which customer you want to focus on. How are you going to cost them? How convenient you are going to make that customer to come and buy the product? How are you actually going to communicate to the customers to come and buy the product, or entice them to come and buy the product? I mean, different books tell it in different way, but the bottom line is, guys, what's important for us to understand is 4 key things, right? That's what I'm going to really talk about in next few sessions, right? The first thing is the foundational elements, making yourself geared towards entering into the innovation and entrepreneurship world. And the second thing is your journey to product journey. And then the third thing is that missing piece that you need to know, whatever that you learned in the first 2 sessions, that will help you to start or embark your journey into the entrepreneurship. That's your third one, right? And the fourth one is some practical aspects of it. Doing it real by yourself. If you go through these 4 phases, and I can tell you that you will start thinking whether you are becoming an entrepreneur or innovator by yourself. But you will start thinking when you're working in your company, anything that you do, you will start thinking it in this. You will start asking the right question to your boss. Hey, you wanted me to do this, but did you actually study this industry and study this customer? Do you know our competitors already have this? Implementing this is going to not help us much to acquire new customers. But if you have a boss to upsell this to the existing customers, well, I'm okay with it. What about new customers? It's very difficult. We are going to be able to acquire new customers just because we are adding this feature into our existing. I mean, these kind of intelligent questions you'll be able to ask, and you'll be able to stand out of the crowd, and you'll be able to become really successful. right? So that's the quick brush up and run through of whatever that we have learned so far. And moving forward, what we will learn as a summary is, I'll just show you this. We will quickly learn about product introduction. What are all the different, in the development, when you talk about, it's all about project management, right? A couple of slides at a very high level, I'll talk about that. So you understand that. And then launch, what is soft launch, hard launch? What are the different types of launches that you do? And after you launch it, how do you actually, what are the different things that you need to consider when your products that are out there? So that if I'm able to kind of finish that, that will bring us to the end of second session. Then third session will be a fresh session. Again, it's all connected to the session 1 and 2, but I will bring up the topic that are something not touched in 1 and 2 that you need to think about, right? When you're entering into the world of entrepreneurship. So that would be our third session, and finally the last session. So that's pretty much it is that I'm planning to do, team. I'll stop here. Any questions from anyone? Does that kind of give you a good picture as to a complete run of the whole thing that we will go through?
Yes, got it.
Okay, perfect. Hey, Samuel, thanks for joining, man. Samuel, can you hear us? All right, I can't hear him. Maybe he's on mute. But I will give you guys back 10 minutes as I promised. Back to you all. So the now action to you all. As I promised, I'm going to complete my goal. Now you are also, you have come with me the first half. You sailed with me through the first half of the journey. That means basically you have come to a stage where you are a co-organizer of this program like me. Now your goal in the second half is to get your acts together, bring your teams together, learn the remaining missing piece that you need, that I wanted to really help you to learn, and deliver your commitments of pitch day, right? Even if you don't, like I mentioned, if you have a demo, it adds some points, right? If you don't have a demo, but at least you should be able to create screenshots and everything. This is how your products. I wanted you to really get there in next 2 to 3 months before we close this session. So I'll keep my commitment, and I expect you leaders as a co-organizers to keep your commitment to get this project successfully closed. And I'll try to see if I don't have to extend this product, this program for next 3 months, if we can condense it and bring to a closure, I'll try to see that also something that I will try to see without compromising on what I am going to teach you and what you're going to learn from me, right? So without compromising that, I'll try to see how best we can evolve, finish the rest of the sessions and do this pitch day, have fun together, right? So that's what I wanted to do. Let's see how the COVID is going to be. It's coming down, and today I saw the news again. It's climbing up. I just hope we are all going to meet someday, right? So with that, I'll give you guys back now 9 minutes, and see you all next week. And looking forward to have the full house of the team attending this program. Take care, guys. Have a wonderful evening and wonderful weekend. Hey, Gregory, don't forget. Gregory and everyone, don't forget, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, including me, right? Let's make sure all of us attend the Saturday program tomorrow.
Yes, I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah, Docker and Kubernetes. And I wanted you guys to kind of, even if you don't understand, I wanted you guys to kind of understand the big picture. All these things is going to help you in the term. Let's make sure all 9 of us are there, and we'll also have additional people joining us. It's going to be a wonderful program. And our star presenter Kavita is back, right? And I'm very happy that she's come back to train us in her next commitment.
Yep. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.